Hi there, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Canceling COVID. Thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to join us. Of course, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Mecklenburg County Public Health, mecnc.gov. Mecnc.gov, they are so supportive, and we are so grateful for their support. Again, Mecklenburg County Public Health, mecnc.gov. They are still there, still answering your questions. If there's anything that you are hesitant about or need information, pick up the phone and call them as well, 980-314-9400, 980-314-9400. And we're grateful for Groundwater Solutions continuously working in the community, doing grass work, just grassroots, putting the work in. And of course, we'll be talking to Dr. Tracia Black in just a moment. We're so grateful for all of the support. Hey, it's been a little over a week since we talked last. We got some exciting things to share with you, and we're revamping some things, or we revamped, and we'll share more about that in just a moment. We're going to be just as relentless about what's happening with COVID. It is relentless, and it has been, continues to be, in the way it attacks our communities, our families, and our way of life. So we're going to be just as relentless in our effort to help you protect yourself. This is your safe space for reliable and relevant information. It's Canceling COVID, and we are grateful again that we are continuing to bring you great information. I posted an update on social media. You can now find Canceling COVID on Impact Network. Yeah, round of applause. Impact TV Network, a national platform, and kudos to my team, Amelia Henderson and Tony Russian of 180 Degree Productions. This is quite an honor, something we've been looking forward to and wanting to share. So hop on, let them know that you appreciate what they are allowing us to do, and check out the stories, and they're your stories, and we hopefully you'll provide some great feedback on that as well. Now, we've got a question of the day as well. We want to start with that, and the question of the day is 30% of Americans now believe it will take more than a year to return to our new normal life. That's according to a new poll that was performed by Axos. And what we are asking you is, if you think that it's going to take that long, jump in our chat and let us know your thoughts. How long will it take to return to the new norm? We know we can't go back to what it was before, but I'd love to hear your comments. And coming up later, also, I'll ask you, we've got gift cards that we are now going to offer. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but I want to go ahead and get started on what the leading health experts continue to look at, and that's vaccines to get us back to a way that we can have some sense of normalcy. And the decision to vaccinate is so personal. It really is. And for so many, it's a matter of life and death. And people that actually take the time and try to put that effort in, I'd love to hear from them. So there's one other major worry that's top of mind for a lot of people, and that's your children. Good afternoon, Erica Simonton Beatty. Thank you for hopping on. We appreciate your loyal support as well. And my husband, Doug Rashid, has hopped on today. So good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So I was talking about this whole issue of having to make a decision about getting vaccinated. We realize it's personal. We honor and respect the decision. We just want people to make sure they're making a decision based on logic and not based on rumor or what they found on the website, or just someone just giving you all these conspiracy theories. But we do acknowledge the past and what has happened in our community when it comes to medicine. For parents who have children, safety is top of mind. And I've got a person here that shared a story. He's in a national spotlight, a national platform with plenty of people that he can share his story with. And when he shared with me what was going on with his family, I felt like you certainly could benefit from hearing this story. So I want to bring in national gospel recording artist Kenny Curry. He's right out of York County. I call him York County's finest. Always, Casey, good morning, or good afternoon, that is. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to always to rock with my girl TR, Tonya Rivens. Happy to be able to share. I think I'm one of the most blessed individuals ever right now, being able to overcome what I've been through concerning COVID.
Let's talk about
So,
that cool studio you in. What you got going on there? Is that your man cave or something?
well, with COVID, with the pandemic has made my man cave, my office, my studio. It's kind of a three-in-one deal. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that's exactly what it is. Just like my man cave, my
Wow.
place of meditation, work. I get a lot done in this room right here.
Yeah, well, you're a gospel artist. He's a true believer, a Christian. When you
Mhm.
talk about my brother, I truly appreciate you. And to have your story, I think so many people would benefit. So let's talk about, you already kind of mentioned when you had COVID, but you're a COVID survivor, but you have such an empowering story. So let's start with the conversation that you and your wife had when you started talking about getting vaccinated.
Yeah, when the vaccine first came out and everyone was hearing about it, we had our repercussions. Well, not repercussions. We had our precautions
Right,
um, about the vaccine. We had our questions, a little concerned, just like everyone else was.
right, right,
So, but at the same time, when you think about it, when you got your flu shots and your immunization when you were little, no one was asking questions about what was in that, and we're still
right,
here, you
right.
know. And as we begin to, to continue to think about it and get deep thoughts about it, even in our church, our pastor was, building the case about everyone should get vaccinated. And at that time, I still wasn't sold on it, but he was like, let me give you a poll. How many people do you know have died from COVID? And just about every hand in the sanctuary went up. And then he
Mhm.
said, how many people you know have died from the vaccine? And there were maybe one or two heads was up. And the pastor was like, yeah, you probably know the same person. you
Yeah.
know, so the odds are there.
Yeah,
We have these myths, and because of our culture, we have our observations on what we should do because of what we've been through as a race. But at
absolutely.
this, but sometimes some things are common sense, and sometimes it takes us a long time to kind of to buy into what's going on, because we are our cultures, to be honest, we came here in fear, so we operate in fear. If you
Absolutely. So let's talk
Yeah.
about that conversation though that you and your wife had when you all started to decide. You made the decision to get the vaccine, but what went into that conversation? How did y'all decide?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. My wife and I, we have a 5-year-old,
Okay.
and that's our heart and joy of our family. If you can catch
Yeah.
her on Cowboy Kennedy videos, but anyway, uh, since we still had observations, we still wanted to do what was right for her. We kind of
Okay.
moved ourselves out, so we took a flip of the coin. Who's going to get a vaccine? We both were willing to do it, but we didn't want both of us to do it because if there was something wrong, then we wanted one of us to be here for her. So we had our little discussion. So that's what it was.
Now
Flip the
was it
coin,
real? Go ahead,
huh?
flip the coin.
Well, we flipped the coin. Of course, she won. So
Okay.
she got vaccinated. Went through it smoothly. She was a little, sick on the second shot, but nothing major. In a day or two, she was fine. So I didn't get vaccinated. So after about 4 months, 5 months of her being vaccinated, I'm like, hey, the vaccination seems pretty cool. You haven't had any, side effects, anything like that. Let me go ahead and schedule mine. So like, all right, cool. I'm in agreement with that. So I scheduled it for the 26th, with work, and then on the 24th, I came down with COVID.
Wow, that close. So within a couple of days of the deadline that you all had set, you got
Hmm.
COVID. So your
Right.
initial concern, I mean, you guys put a lot of effort and thought into this to sit down and go, set up an agreement because you're concerned about your child if something
Hmm.
was to happen. And clearly you were fearful that something may
Hmm.
happen to say,
Right.
okay, then one of us will go ahead and really kind of test it out and
Right.
then see how it goes. And then the other one will come along. And so then all of a sudden, a couple of days out from getting it,
Hmm.
you got COVID. Tell us, what was that like?
This is the selling factor for anyone that's hesitating about getting the vaccine. I'm promoting getting the vaccine. Yes, that's why I'm on here today.
All
Get the
right.
vaccine. So this is why my stance is getting the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I came down with COVID. I really wasn't that bad at first. I had the chills. That's what made me get tested and everything like that.
Okay.
It felt like a kind of a little cold or something like that. Nothing major. Then I started getting high fevers, and then I got better after the fever.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, tractor trailer truck hit me. I
Wow.
went down. I started losing oxygen. Well, long story short, I ended up in ICU for 9 days.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
with 18% chance, I was getting pumped in oxygen. If they took the oxygen out of my nose, I could not make it without it.
Mm.
So at that point, I began to accept reality. I may not make it out of here,
Wow.
and I was having issues with my heart, issues with my lungs, issues with my kidneys. COVID just triggers so many things internally that can really shut you down. Now, I'm a guy that goes to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. I eat right. We don't fry anything in the house. And so I consider myself rather healthy. I don't have any underlying issues. And I know for sure I don't now. All the tests and X-rays I've had with COVID, but
Yeah.
my life changed overnight. I was in the hospital. I
Mm.
was you know, I had I was so bad. I had a nurse that was stationed inside of my room and a doctor right on the outside.
Oh my.
Uh, so every morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting X-rays and C scans and MRIs every day. I'm getting stuck like 7 capsules of blood. I mean, it's a
Wow.
process that I never even been in the hospital. I never been really sick. The only thing I think I had once was a headache, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing I could actually remember. Uh, so long story short, after I overcame it, I was able to come home. I still wasn't, 100, but I'm still not 100, but I was able to come home. And when I came home, shortly after my wife was diagnosed with COVID, she tested
That's what I
positive.
wanted to ask before we
Yeah.
got to you, beating and winning the battle of the
hmm
disease, the illness itself. Did
hmm
anyone else in your home get it when you was diagnosed with it?
My 18-year-old, she had it, and she was
Uh-huh.
in it. She didn't have to go to the hospital, but she was in the bed for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Uh, she is not vaccinated as well. See what that
Wow.
unvaccinated puts you in the bed. And then, but my wife, being
Yes.
vaccinated, she tested positive. She followed, all of the procedures for isolating and quarantining. But she did that, like Queen Elizabeth. She was laying in there reading books,
Yeah.
watching TV, never coughed, not a headache. I'm sitting outside like, look, you need to catch a fever or something. I mean,
Yeah.
you need to get something. So
And you
five,
got a house full of girls, so you ladies in there, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
So
So
go
fast
ahead.
forward, you survived. But
hmm
one of the things that even in talking with you after you spent 9 days there and you were able to come home, you
hmm
still have been dealing with a lot of the after effects. Kind of
Yeah.
talk about like expressed concern about even having to take those steroids, something that you had never had to introduce into your body.
Yeah, right. I was put on heavy doses of steroids, blood thinners, because when you have it and you take the steroids and you're laying down a lot, you're not able to actually move. You develop blood clots, which could be more dangerous than COVID. So it's so many things that could come at you. With this, I still have trouble breathing. I get exhausted quick if I walk. Any length of distance, I'm out of breath. I mean, out of breath. Not like I mean, out of breath, like you've
Yeah.
ran 3 miles. So, and then you can be regularly just watching TV and then, kind of like a panic attack a little bit,
Wow.
so this thing never leaves. And you get kind of discouraged, like, is this me now? Is this my new life?
Yeah.
Um, and another thing that's stuck in effect, I'm an artist,
Yeah, I was
uh,
gonna say, trying to get back and minister.
oh, I can't hold a note.
You can't even hold a note right
And
now.
no, no, not, I mean,
Wow.
it controls your voice. If I try to hit certain notes, it just doesn't feel right, and it's either sharp or flat. It's not quality yet. So that's another thing that I fear.
And that mentally obviously is going to have an impact on you as well.
Oh, let's speak about mentally. You're always in a fog. I was having trouble spelling words,
Mm.
remembering certain things. So you kind of go to a minor state of a vegetable, dealing with this. So don't think, well, I'm gonna go in and I heard the stories about people only sick about a week or so, then I'm back up. COVID is nothing to actually take, to play with because it has so many different effects on so many, on different people. It could affect you so many different ways.
Right.
Um, yeah, I'm not claiming any of the things because I've made big, huge leaps since I got out.
Yeah.
But
Praise
these are
God for that.
right, amen.
Yeah.
But the doctors told me that I had a long road because I had double pneumonia in my lungs while I was there. Um,
Ooh.
so being able to overcome that, it's just my lungs are. It's going to take lungs are one of the organs that takes a long time to get back right.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank God you have been able to survive, Casey. And
mhm.
I am so happy. Didn't know until we connected that, I checked on you, checked in on you, and you didn't sound well. And, I know people are kind of private about it, but,
Mhm.
I want to wrap things up with you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And for those that have
Thank you.
hopped on, please share because more people need to hear this testimony. It
And
speaks to the whole issue of COVID and someone who was perfectly healthy. And we hear stories often about perfectly healthy people who get it and they end up transitioning. again, we thank God that you have been able to get out and overcome that, but now you're dealing with some of that,
Yeah.
excuse me, after effects, which
Yeah.
really, is going to be another battle for you. But I wanted
Right.
to ask you, any advice or anything you would like to say to some of those families out there right now still holding out?
Yeah. Just think about for instance, if you don't want to do it for yourself, think about the people, your loved ones that need you.
Right.
That's what's one of my strongest motivation. I have a 5-year-old. I don't want anybody else raising her. I want to raise
Right.
her the way I was raised and make sure that I'm in her life. And
Yeah.
being in our loved one's life is a part of being healthy. So, Tanya was joking about it, but I have really considered, being a poster child for this. I'm willing to come to churches, events, and seminars and speak on the difference of, my thing is the difference of being vaccinated. Uh,
Yeah.
so you can make your choice, but understand that every day that you make that choice, you're actually playing Russian roulette with your life.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I wasn't
Thank you.
really joking. I'm serious about that because we're talking about, taking the show on the road, and maybe we can get you to come hang out with us. We might have to get you a golf cart or something to ride or make sure we're taking care of you. But, and you can make light of it. I appreciate that as well. So clearly you
Yeah,
and the
thank you.
missus are taking care of one another, taking care of the family. So thank you
Thank you.
so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you
And
so much for having me.
yeah, and tell the queen we said hello and thank you. Oh, and I wanted to share though that Casey has now been vaccinated. I wanted to make sure that I shared that. Of course, he had to get through the time period, the time frame that is required, but he was able to get vaccinated. But what a powerful story! And I want to talk about now as we shift gears. Another big story. It's about the booster shots, Moderna and Pfizer. Right now, we are looking to share, and I lost my spot just for a minute there, but whether will be allowed to mix and match boosters, well, if it's approved, you wouldn't have to do all Moderna or all Pfizer or Johnson and Johnson, which means your initial vaccine, you wouldn't have to get a Pfizer booster. You could get a Moderna, or if you got the original Moderna vaccine, you could get the Pfizer vaccine. So hopefully we'll find out more about that. I'm not sure if there has been an update, but the FDA is also considering whether to allow you to mix that up. So well, let me back up and make sure that I'm saying this correctly because sometimes I lose my place. Moderna and Johnson booster shots could get final approval today. That's what I should have said. They could get final approval today. My teleprompter kind of jumped ahead. The FDA is considering whether to allow you to mix and match boosters. If this is approved, again, you wouldn't have to go with all Moderna. It would be a mixed bag. So if you got Moderna originally, you could get the Pfizer booster. If you got the Pfizer vaccine, you could get the Moderna booster. Now, despite a steady drop in new cases nationally, Americans are starting to believe a post-COVID life is farther away than initially hoped. And that's one of the things that we put in our chat, asking you about do you think that is going to take another year for us to get back to our new normal? I also want to insert here one of the headlines, which is about our Black communities, African Americans. Looks like we are slowly starting to close the gap on what is the big divide on people getting vaccinated. Of course, KC and his wife took a little while longer because they had their reasons. And we're going to talk more about that. But I think that's exciting news, again, that we are starting to close the gap. Now, some people aren't excited about that and they have their reasons. And I want to talk to Dr. Tracia Black about that. But I mentioned that I had a gift card for giveaways. And one of the things that I want, if you could send to me, and as we get everything set up, starting on later, as soon as we hop off the air, if you would send me someone who just recently got the vaccine, because the news says that the news is reporting on all of the surveys that I'm seeing and what we're getting from health officials, the African American community is closing the gap. So I'm curious to find out if you recently got the vaccine, what motivated you to do it? Is it because your employer required you to do it? Does it have to do with your health insurance? Do you feel like you were forced into the decision? And we're going to give a winner, courtesy of Quick Trip, a $25 gas card. And all you have to do is go to my website, TonyaRivens.com, contact Tonya, and if you can show me proof that you recently got the vaccine, and it can be a picture, I don't want anything personal, but proof that you recently got the vaccine, and I have to be able to validate the date. We'll be glad to give you this $25 gift card. And we're going to be doing this each week, whether it's a gas card or a gift card to a restaurant, because we want more people to tune in, and please let people know that we've got this happening, so that we can continue to get the information out. Now, let me move on to our next guest, and I really want to talk to her because she always brings such great information, and she's also a sponsor of the show. But most importantly, she has her ear to the ground and knows what's happening. I'm talking about Dr. Tracia Black. Hey, beautiful, and good afternoon to you.
Hi there, gorgeous.
Hi, thank you so much for being patient as I'm just like Miss Chatterbox today, but I wanted to get this
Oh, it's
information.
been great. KC
Yeah,
was
well,
wonderful.
doesn't he have a powerful story?
Yes, I want
Yeah,
to bring him out with us. Let's do that.
I think that would be great. We'll have to talk about that. But the fact that he and his wife put so much thought into it and came up with an
Hmm.
agreement, but that
Hmm.
speaks to the genuine concerns and fear of people about getting this vaccine. And,
Right,
they went as far as to say, we want to be here for our daughter. So this is what we're going to do. And to flip a coin and
right.
then, to go through all that is just pretty incredible. So,
That was very structured, and it
yeah.
was very it just made perfect sense, the strategy that they used.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you're out and about. So this new Axis poll, it says more Americans see post-COVID life farther away. I didn't know that anybody really or actually thought we had a grip on it because we made progress and then we went back.
right.
Do you think it's becoming more practical, or do you think people are losing their optimism?
I don't think, I think for the most part, the folks that I encounter are still hopeful.
Okay.
Especially those of us that are on the front line, we're very hopeful, and it's also practical. We're normalizing COVID
Hmm.
safety precautions, and I think we're trying to figure out what that new normal is. And I don't think any of us know, but we believe that life is going to go on, and
Right.
it may look differently. We may have different things that are required, but there's still hope.
Yeah, and as you said that just now, I wish people would understand, it is going to go on. And so we've got to figure out a way to continue to be a part of this thing called life here on earth.
Right. Mhm,
70% of adults in North Carolina are at least partially vaccinated. I
mhm,
did see somewhere where it said though Mecklenburg County was lagging behind just a little bit with
mhm,
those numbers, but
mhm,
54% are fully vaccinated. Are you seeing a decrease in demand, or I've mentioned the African American community now
mhm,
closing the gap. Are you
mhm.
seeing an uptick, or what do
We're
you see?
seeing an uptick. Our
Okay.
vaccine numbers are going up. We're seeing lots of businesses that are asking us to come in
Okay.
to vaccinate their staff. Many of them are giving many incentives to be vaccinated. I know one place was given $100 to each of their employees who got
Oh wow.
vaccinated when we came out. Um, and then I also, in 2020, we surveyed many of the folks who were coming out for COVID-19 testing, for
Uh-huh.
COVID education events, and many African Americans said, "Well, no, I'm not going to take the vaccine when it first comes out." Some said they will wait 6 months. Some said they will wait a year, 2 years to see how the response was with what we were finding out were risks. And so I think there are lots of people like Casey and his wife who really made a decision early on about when they and if they would be ready. And so we're now approaching that point that it's been 6 months, 9 months. Um, in January, I think we'll be at a year where the vaccines have been out and rolling freely in the United States. So I think we're going to see more people who they've reached that time mark that they set, and they're going to be very methodical, like Casey and his family, and we'll see those numbers continue to go up.
Well, that's encouraging, and hopefully, because I did see some activists, I guess, is what you would probably consider their
Mhm,
stance is they don't like it because they feel
mhm,
like the community is being forced to take the
mhm,
vaccine. And
mhm,
one of them was like because of your employer or
mhm.
because of your health insurance. Now, I wasn't aware of the vaccine being tied in with any health insurance. Have you been informed or know anything of that?
No, what I do know though is that insurance companies are really having a challenge with the
Uh-huh.
weekly testing requirements. So you
Okay.
have, some policies that say you either have to be vaccinated or you have to test once a week. Well,
Right.
the insurance companies are not wanting to have to fund that weekly testing.
Okay, I got you.
So I probably a insurance company for their members to get vaccinated to save them those costs for the weekly testing. And at some point, I really believe that the insurance companies are not going to pay any longer. And so for those folks who need weekly testing, it's going to have to be an out of pocket cost, which none of us have yet experienced. But I do see that coming in the future.
So this is what I'm talking about. These are the little issues that I'm not sure people are talking about. Now, what people love to grasp on is, of course, President Biden has no right to tell me I have to take a vaccine. That's not what he mandated. He mandated a vaccine or a test if you have 100 or more. And one of the things you had pointed out was a lot of employers were looking for someone to force their hand. And so obviously they can point to the president regardless of their stance. Well, he's the one making us do it. But here's the issue now. I'm not going to pay for a test every week. That's money that I can use for something else. And especially with, prices going up on gas and food and everything else. And so insurance companies are standing there saying, we're not going to keep paying for this, or
How can you
possibly.
force us to have to pay for it as well, as what the
Right.
insurance companies are saying?
Right. And so then the alternative is just to go and get vaccinated, I guess. And so some people do feel like they're pressured. Didn't even realize that, and didn't even cross my mind, because I thought that agreement, obviously the testing is paid for. But I guess there's a little pushback
It
from
is
the insurance
pushback.
company. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the insurance companies are saying, well, we didn't sign up for this.
I
Why
got
should
you.
we be required to have to do that? So, and we're anticipating that in the next few months, we'll see that those insurance companies will no longer cover, and maybe they'll cover one a month. I don't
Right.
know, but I know that the weekly testing that we currently have, or some folks actually test more than once a week. You can test as often as you feel like you need to, and the insurance companies have been mandated to have to pay those. And so that's being relooked at now.
Yeah, well, and oftentimes when it comes down to the side of big business
Mhm.
versus the consumer,
Yeah.
we don't always win.
Right.
So you might want to start making some type of plan, even if it means trying to
Mhm.
be your own boss one day. But what are some of the approaches that you would suggest to still, spread the word about COVID vaccines or safety measures? I see, and you just said that, I see more of us wearing our mask and,
Mhm.
trying to take precautions.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that you would suggest maybe that we should be trying to do to protect ourselves, especially as we head into the holiday season?
Well, I think really taking precautions with public gatherings and family
Mhm.
gatherings. I talked about it, I think, around the 4th of July or some major holidays. But if you're going to do any type of congregate activity, please get tested before
Yeah.
you go out and expose other people. Have testing at your event. One of our community health workers sent me a picture, and they were at a sip and paint party, and he
Oh,
had all of his testing supplies laid out. And he said the person who was hosting that party asked him to come out and make sure everybody had a rapid test before they came into the event.
that's
It
a
took
great idea.
it took 10-15 minutes, and they knew that everybody in their event was COVID free. And
Wow.
again, right now, that's something that doesn't cost you a penny to be
Wow.
tested, or to, if you're hosting an event, to have somebody come out. So I suggest that if you're going to do public gatherings. The other thing is just be safe. Make sure you're pushing those vitamins. If KC's story didn't tell you anything at all, is that COVID-19 is real, and
Yeah.
we have to take it seriously. Tonya, I had last week, this during this last year or two, that I've been so happy and so excited that we had not lost a patient. Well, we lost a
Oh,
patient last week.
thank God.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's heart-wrenching. And this family is now
yeah.
preparing to lay their loved one to rest. And so it's not over. We have
No.
to still be diligent, and we have to still be safe.
Yeah, so sorry to hear that. So you were happy, you guys had a good streak going where
Yeah.
you hadn't lost any patients, thank
Mhm.
God, and then you lost one. So I know that is heartbreaking. I've got Darcel Lamar who hopped on, and he
Mhm.
wanted to know, Dr. Black, if you want to weigh in on this. What are your thoughts on people who have had COVID already getting or not getting the vaccine?
Well, if you've already had COVID, then we know that your body has antibodies. God has designed us in such a miraculous way that you have antibodies. I believe that your vaccination, getting vaccinated, is a very personal decision, but you need to know all the facts. Really do your own research. As I've told you all before, with every vaccine, every medicine, there are risks, and there
Right.
are absolutely some risks with the COVID-19 vaccine. However, the numbers of folks who are dying or in the hospital without the vaccine are higher, and
And
there
that
are fewer injuries. Just like when uh, Mr. Curry said, the pastor said, raise your hand if you know someone who's passed from COVID-19, and raise your hand if you know someone who's passed from the vaccine.
right.
People are going to raise their hand because it absolutely is happening, Tonya. And
Yeah.
that's what we don't talk about. People who in the Black community, if we just talked about the vaccine risk, put it
Mhm.
out on the table and said, but the numbers are low, instead of saying, well, there's no risk, we
Right,
would be
right,
more trustworthy. But so those numbers who are injured by the vaccine are very low compared to the numbers who are dying and who have
right.
long-term, long-haul symptoms like KC. Those numbers are
Wow.
very high.
You heard him. He's a gospel artist, a
And
national
he
artist,
can't sing.
national recognition. He's gotten awards for his writing and everything. And now he says, I can't even hold
I
a
can't even
note.
sing.
Right. That's his
That is
livelihood.
devastating.
And
Yeah.
one of the things he said to me when we were talking, he was like, to your point, people, I don't know anyone who has passed away that had the COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, now people are saying, okay, Colin Powell, but he also had underlying health conditions. And I don't know
Mhm.
him personally, but I do know we've lost over 700,000 people. And we all know someone who has passed away as a result of COVID. And everyone I know that passed away did not have the vaccine. And I
Mhm.
speak from a personal, testimony myself. Now, Franklin
Mhm.
Russell has hopped on and he says, what OTC vitamins do you recommend, or do you recommend any, Dr. Black?
I do. I recommend vitamin D3,
Mm-hmm.
oregano oil, zinc, mercury, um, soursop. Um, uh, I can't think of sea moss. There's so many. We
Yeah.
have a booklet. Tanya and I work together to create a booklet about. It's called Conversations About COVID.
Right.
If you contact me, you can go to our website, groundwater-solutions.org, or you can call our office at 704-596-0505. We will send you books. We'll send you books for your whole household, your church, your school, but it has all kinds of over-the-counter natural things that you can do to protect yourself against COVID-19. And
And Dr.
before
Black,
Tanya,
you're way too tall. You're way too kind. You're the brains behind this. And I even love, what's that? What is it? Conversations about COVID, even the title.
conversations about COVID. Mm-hmm,
Yeah, and you put it in plain language,
mm-hmm,
just
mm-hmm,
plain language where you can have this conversation. And Dr. Reverend Russell has a ministry, so
mm-hmm,
hopefully he'll reach out. Amelia, put the information back up one more time before we get you off. Reverend
mm-hmm,
Russell, if you could reach out to Dr. Black so you can get these booklets over to your church. I got a
mm-hmm.
couple more questions as we're running out of time because I'm so
Can I say one
excited.
more thing? And I know that we're running
Sure,
short of time, but I didn't
that's
finish
okay.
answering the question about the vaccine if
Okay.
you've already had COVID. One of the things that the vaccine does that we all have to be aware of is that it takes those natural antibodies out of your body and
Hmm.
replaces it with artificially manufactured materials. And
Okay.
so some people do argue, is what God made, like the antibodies that we naturally created, are they stronger than the vaccine or not? And that's we're still learning those things, but that
Right.
is the kind of negative about the vaccine, is it takes your natural antibodies away. So,
But to the point, though, we can go back to the numbers of how many
mhm,
people that we know that have died that had the
right,
vaccine. And
right,
to the point, ooh, also, Reverend Russell, I want to make the point, even with the natural vitamins, when I've had experts on, right now, there's no research studies that they can put out that shows that this is a better alternative. But there's no
absolutely.
problem with trying to have a healthier lifestyle and getting those vitamins in your system. And Reverend Russell says he needs the number again. We're going to get that back up
Mhm.
for you. I just want to
And,
touch on
and
this
if you
before I
are
let you go.
not going to be vaccinated, then you've got to be doing something else. You cannot
Right,
not do anything. So pump those vitamins, nutrients, lose weight, get healthy if you are choosing not to be vaccinated.
right. And make sure you're cutting back on fried foods,
Hmm.
diabetes, high blood pressure, all those things. And well, let me talk about the COVID vaccines for kids under 12. It
Hmm.
could start as early as next month, and
Hmm.
they're talking November 3rd. Now, what are you guys doing as far as preparing for the rollout?
So we were actually just on a state call before I joined the show today.
Okay.
Um, Providers are being asked now. We're able to pre-order pediatric vaccines. They
Okay.
don't guarantee that we're going to get what we asked for, but they are now asking providers throughout North Carolina to identify, do you want to administer? And if so, how many doses we're requesting during the initial rollout. So we are anticipating that they're going to come in that first week of November, but even, and we may have them in our hand before we actually have the EUA, the emergency approval authorization.
Okay.
So they're saying that even if we have them in storage, we have to wait for that approval. So it might be just like we're going to find out today about the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson booster. We'll probably have them and just be kind of waiting for the announcement to go ahead and start administering.
Well, you're busy and you're out doing work in the community, and I need you to tell us where you are today as we wrap things up. But talk about your community workers program, community health workers program. Are you still hiring?
We actually are full. We
Oh,
anticipate
okay.
there being another rollout in a month or two where we'll need additional ones. But right now, we have all of our community health workers out on the
Good.
ground. They are doing lots of education. They're doing events throughout several counties. We are a place, if you need help, not just with COVID-19 illness or vaccination, but you have been impacted by COVID. You've lost your job. You're having a problem with your income. You need food. Then we are a place that you can come and we can help you find resources. So not only contact us for the testing, if you have a need and you're in North Carolina, then we probably have community health workers in your community.
Oh, that's some great stuff. So, Dr. Tresha Black of Groundwater Solutions, so glad to have a partner with you with all of this. And the big reason why we've been able to continue. Jay Jones said, thanks for sharing. Thank you, Jay. And this is what we pride ourselves on, having candid conversations, just real talk and providing resources. Thank you to Kenny Curry as well. Dr. Black, is there anything else you would like to say as we close out?
No, just everybody, let's start keeping each other healthy. Keep yourself healthy. Find someone. If you have a senior, this is important because I think the seniors now, I'm seeing them take a major hit with regard to not just the vaccine or needing to take the vaccine or still get tested. We've been at a public housing for seniors facility, and there were positives of folks who were vaccinated. So again, remember to get tested, take care of our seniors because they're very isolated, and this pandemic has taken an extra toll on them. Because even those who used to come visit them have not been able to do that. So let's just love each other and support each other.
Love thy neighbor. Where are you today anyway?
We're Indian Trail off of Independence, right as you go into Union County. We are there every day, Monday through Saturday. We are also at Kitty Land today. We are at University Adult Daycare, and we are at our office on Reagan Drive for driving.
Oh, thank you. And Reverend Russell says, thanks to you, Dr. Black. And I am grateful for you as well. So thank you. She joins us every Wednesday, at least once a week as a sponsor of the show. And I appreciate that as well. Groundwater Solutions, everyone, right here in the community. And when she says Groundwater Solutions, they are right here in the community, putting the work in, but not just here, but all around the state. So thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we've got to go, but I want to remind you again, please, if you're one of the people that recently got vaccinated, because reports are showing that we have now started to close the gap. Some people are saying they've been forced to get the vaccine because of their employers. Some people are saying because of health insurance. But whatever the case may be, I would love to bless someone with a gift card courtesy of Quick Trip. It's $25. Gas is high right now. It's not going to fill your tank up, but it would certainly help. All you have to do is go to TonyaRivens.com. There's a spot there that says contact me. I'll need to be able to validate and verify that you're one of the ones who has, recently got the vaccine, and I'll make sure you get this gift card. It's time for us to go. We'll be back on Friday. We plan on being out in the community on Friday again, taking this show to another level. You can find us now on Impact TV Network as a part of the work that we put in since January. We thank God for that. We're grateful for our sponsors, Mecklenburg County Public Health, mecnc.gov, mecnc.gov, and thank you to Groundwater Solutions. As always, life's challenges make you better, not bitter. I'm Tonya Rivens, and I thank you for joining us because together we plan to cancel COVID. Enjoy your afternoon, everyone.